The Uber dropped me off at my parents' house at exactly 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I'd timed it perfectly, early enough to help with dinner prep, late enough to avoid the pre-dinner interrogation about my transportation choices. Through the front window I could see my brother Tyler's truck in the driveway. Brand new Ford F-350, lifted suspension custom paint job. He'd sent photos to the family group chat every week for the past month. License plate red. Self-made. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd bought that truck for him. Well, technically my company had bought it as part of a $400,000 investment Tyler thought came from a venture capital firm interested in his landscaping business. The VC firm was mine. The investment was a gift. He had no idea. Just like he had no idea about most things concerning me. There she is. Mom opened the door, pulling me into a hug. Did the ride service find the house okay? I know the GPS can be tricky out here. Found it fine, Mom. You really should learn to drive, sweetheart. At your age it's becoming a problem. I was 32. I had multiple pilot's licenses. I just didn't feel like explaining that. Tyler appeared behind Mom, beer in hand, smirk already in place. Uber again? What's that, $20 each way? $40 just to get to Christmas dinner. Financial genius right there. Good to see you too, Tyler. I'm just saying gas money for my truck would have been cheaper. But you never offer. Always expecting free rides like you're still in high school. I set my bag down carefully. You're right. I should contribute more. He blinked, surprised I'd agreed. Yeah. You should. Dad emerged from the living room wearing his traditional Christmas sweater. Our non-driver made it. How was the ride? Smooth. Must be nice having other people cart you around everywhere. No responsibilities. No vehicle payments. No insurance premiums. He said it like an accusation. I manage my finances differently. That's one way to put it. Tyler took a long drink. Another way is, can't afford a car. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. The house smelled like ham and pine needles. Mom had gone all out with decorations, garland on every surface, lights in every window, a 12-foot tree dominating the living room. It was beautiful, overwhelming, and very expensive. Expensive enough that I'd had to quietly pay off their credit card debt last year when they'd overextended themselves. They thought the credit card company had forgiven the balance as part of some promotional program. They had no idea their daughter had paid the $47,000 bill. Come help with the potatoes, Mom directed, leading me to the kitchen. Your sister should be here any minute. She's bringing her new boyfriend. The doctor? I asked. Orthopedic surgeon. Very successful. Drives a Mercedes. Mom said this meaningfully, as if I should be taking notes on how to attract successful men. The irony continued to compound. My sister Melissa arrived 20 minutes later with Bradley, who was indeed an orthopedic surgeon and did indeed drive a Mercedes. He was also pompous, boring, and made a point of mentioning his car within the first 5 minutes of conversation. Terrible traffic tonight, he announced, accepting Dad's handshake. Of course, the Mercedes handles it beautifully. German engineering, you know. I know, Dad said admiringly. Beautiful car. Did you see Tyler's new truck? The F-350? Impressive. Custom job. Tyler preened. Fully customized. Cost me a fortune but worth it. When you're self-made you can afford the extras. I stirred the potatoes and said nothing. Melissa found me in the kitchen, looking radiant in designer clothes. Hey sis, how'd you get here? Uber. Still? Seriously? She lowered her voice. It's embarrassing. Bradley asked if you had a DUI or something. I didn't know what to tell him. Tell him I prefer not to drive. That's weird. Normal people drive. Normal 32-year-old adults have cars. She grabbed a wine glass. I'm worried about you. We all are. I'm fine, Melissa. Are you though? No car, no house, that tiny apartment you rent. Tyler said your furniture is from IKEA. Tyler's been to my apartment once, 3 years ago. Still. IKEA furniture at your age. It's concerning. My phone buzzed again. This time I checked it. Captain Morrison Fleet status update needed. I texted back. Standby status maintained. Will advise. Work. Melissa asked, reading over my shoulder. Logistics coordination. For your transportation thing? Aviation services. She'd stopped listening. Bradley and I are thinking about getting a vacation home. Maybe in Aspen. He skis obviously. You can't be an orthopedic surgeon without knowing how to ski. I wasn't sure about that logic, but I let it go. Dinner was called at 7 sharp. The table looked like something from a magazine. China, crystal, candlelight, the works. Mom had outdone herself. I wondered how much of this had been charged to the credit card I'd secretly paid off. We took our seats in the dining room. Tyler at Dad's right hand. Melissa and Bradley across from me. Mom at the other end already fussing over serving sizes. "Let's say grace," Dad announced. We bowed our heads. Dad thanked God for family, health, success, and Tyler's business acumen. He thanked God for Melissa's wonderful new relationship and Bradley's prestigious career. He thanked God for Mom's cooking. He did not thank God for me. When we looked up, Tyler was smirking again. "So," Dad said, carving the ham. "Let's go around the table. Everyone share their biggest accomplishment this year. Tyler, you start." Tyler leaned back, hands behind his head. "Easy. Grew my landscaping company by 40%. Added 3 new trucks, hired 5 employees, and landed the contract for the Morrison Corporate Park. That's 20 acres of premium commercial landscaping. 6-figure annual contract." Everyone applauded. "Self-made," Dad said proudly. "That's my boy." I'd brokered the Morrison contract. Morrison Corporate Park was owned by Morrison Enterprises, which was a subsidiary of my holding company. Tyler had no idea he was landscaping property I owned. "Melissa," Dad prompted. "Well, Bradley and I started dating." She beamed at him. "And I got promoted to senior marketing manager. 15% raise." More applause. "Bradley?" Dad asked. "Published 3 papers in orthopedic journals. Performed 2 groundbreaking knee reconstruction surgeries. Bought the Mercedes." He said this without irony. "Impressive," Dad nodded. "Very impressive. And you, honey?" He looked at Mom. "I organized the church fundraiser that brought in $50,000 for the new youth center. And I redid the kitchen backsplash." "Beautiful work," Dad agreed. Then his eyes landed on me. "And what about you? Any accomplishments to share?" The table went quiet. I cut my ham carefully. "I had a good year." "Specifically?" Tyler pressed. "Business expanded. Revenue increased. Successfully managed several complex projects." "Your transportation coordination thing?" Melissa asked with barely concealed pity. "Aviation services, yes." "Are you making any money at it?" Dad asked. "Actual money? We're profitable, yes." Tyler laughed. "Profitable enough to buy a car? Or are you still Ubering everywhere?" "I use various transportation methods." "That's a no." He looked at Bradley. "She's been building this business for 9 years. 9 years and she still can't afford a vehicle. Meanwhile, I built a real company in half that time." "Different industries," I said mildly. "Different work ethics, you mean?" Tyler was warming to his subject. "Some people talk about business. Other people actually do business. Guess which one owns 3 trucks?" My phone buzzed insistently. I glanced at it under the table. "Captain Morrison, weather window optimal. Confirm status." I texted, "Maintain holding pattern. Will confirm in 30 minutes. "Always on that phone," Dad observed. "Who's so important they need you on Christmas Eve?" "Just coordinating some logistics." "On Christmas," Bradley said incredulously. "That's poor work-life balance. In my practice, I maintain strict boundaries." "Your practice called you twice during dinner," Melissa pointed out. "Emergencies are different. I'm a surgeon." "And she's..." Tyler waved his fork dismissively. "What are you exactly? What do you actually do?" I took a sip of water. "I coordinate aviation operations." "Like for an airline?" "Private aviation." "So you book flights for rich people?" Melissa asked. "Something like that." "That explains the no-car thing," Tyler said. "Entry-level booking jobs don't pay much. Maybe in another 9 years, you'll afford a used Honda." Dad frowned. "Is that really what you've been doing? Booking flights? We thought you owned the company." "I do own the company." Silence. Then Tyler burst out laughing. "You own it? You own a private aviation company? That's the story you're going with." "It's not a story. It's my company." "Right. And I'm the King of England." He looked at Bradley. She does this sometimes. Lives in Fantasyland. It's sad really. Tyler, Mom said weakly. Don't be cruel. I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. She's 32, no car, no assets, living in a rental apartment with IKEA furniture, and she wants us to believe she owns an aviation company. He turned back to me. If you owned a company, you'd have money. If you had money, you'd have a car. You don't have a car. Therefore, you don't own a company. Basic logic. I choose not to own a car. Different thing. Why would anyone choose not to own a car? Environmental reasons. Convenience. I prefer other transportation methods. Bradley leaned forward. What kind of transportation methods? Because from what I understand, you've been asking family members for rides constantly. I blinked. I haven't asked anyone for a ride in 3 years. You asked me for a ride to Mom's birthday last year, Tyler said triumphantly. You offered. I said I already had transportation arranged. You insisted because it was on your way. He faltered. Well, you should have been more grateful. I thanked you multiple times. Not enough, apparently. Dad's voice had an edge. Tyler's brought up several times how you never offer gas money. Because I never ask for rides. But you accept them, Melissa added. And you never contribute. Never chip in. That's taking advantage. I set my fork down. How much would you like me to contribute? Tyler scoffed. Can you even afford gas money? $20. 30. How much? You tell me. What's your budget? My phone rang this time. Captain Morrison. I stood up. Excuse me. Oh no, Tyler said. You're not running away from this conversation. Sit down. I answered the phone. Go ahead, Captain. Ma'am, I need confirmation on the flight plan. We've been holding at altitude for 40 minutes. Fuel consumption is becoming a factor. Descend to the coordinates I sent. Prepare for landing. Landing where, ma'am? Those coordinates show a residential area. Correct. Large backyard. The property dimensions can accommodate 3 aircraft comfortably. There was a pause. 3 aircraft, ma'am? The Gulfstream G650, the Bombardier Global 7500 and the Dassault Falcon 8X. Formation landing. I want maximum impact. Understood. 22 minutes. I ended the call. The table was staring. What was that? Dad demanded. Pilot. He needs landing clearance. Tyler had gone from smirking to scowling. Stop. Just stop with the lies. I'm not lying. I have 3 aircraft inbound. They'll be landing in approximately 22 minutes. Landing here. Mom looked alarmed. In our backyard? It's big enough. I checked the dimensions when you bought the house. You checked. She trailed off. Why would you check that? Standard safety assessment. Old habit from my pilot training. You're a pilot now? Bradley asked with obvious skepticism. Commercial, instrument, multi-engine and type ratings for 12 different aircraft. Started training at 23. Melissa laughed. This is getting ridiculous. Next you'll say you went to medical school too. No, but I did consider it. Decided aviation had better growth potential. Tyler slammed his hand on the table. Enough. Stop lying. There are no aircraft coming. You're not a pilot. You don't own a company. You're a 32-year-old failure who can't afford gas money. Can't afford gas money, I repeated softly. That's interesting. Tell me, Tyler, how much does it cost to fill up that F-350? What? The truck. Full tank. How much? He looked confused. I don't know. $120, maybe. And you fill it how often? Weekly. What does this have to? So roughly $500 monthly in gas. Plus insurance, probably another $200. Truck payment, what, $900? Maintenance, let's say $150 monthly average. Total monthly cost around $1,750 for your truck. He blinked. So, I spend more than that per hour operating my fleet. Your fictional fleet. My very real fleet. The Gulfstream G650 costs approximately $4,000 per hour to operate. The Global 7500 runs about $5,000. The Falcon 8X is roughly $3,500. Just the 3 aircraft landing herein. I checked my watch. 19 minutes, cost approximately $12,500 per hour combined. This is insane, Melissa whispered. And that's not including my helicopter fleet, or my turboprop division, or my commercial airline subsidiary. I turned to Dad. You asked about accomplishments this year. We acquired 4 regional airlines. Total transaction value, $1.7 billion. We also secured government contracts in 7 countries for emergency medical transport. Annual contract value, $340 million. The room was silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock. You're making this up, Tyler said, but his voice had lost its confidence. Am I? Then explain the aircraft that will be landing here in 17 minutes. There are no aircraft. My phone buzzed. I checked it. Captain Morrison visual on landing zone. Confirming residential property at coordinates. Impressive estate. I smiled. They've got visual on the property. Mom stood up shakily. This isn't funny anymore. If you're playing some kind of prank. No prank, Mom. Just 3 private jets worth a combined $220 million coming in to pick up their owner. Their owner, Bradley repeated slowly. You're saying you own 3 private jets? 53 actually. Plus 86 helicopters. But only 3 jets are landing here tonight. I didn't want to overwhelm the neighbors. Dad's face had gone from ruddy to pale. How could you possibly afford? The same way anyone affords things. Revenue exceeding expenses. My company did $2.9 billion in revenue last year. Net profit margin around 18%. That's roughly $522 million in profit. I own 60% of the company. Do the math. Tyler was doing the math. Badly. That would mean you made $313 million last year, yes. Before taxes. After taxes, still substantial. You're a. Melissa couldn't finish the sentence. Multi-millionaire? Suppose. Though at a certain point, the exact number becomes less meaningful than the infrastructure. I focus more on fleet capabilities, route optimization and market expansion. But you rent an apartment, Mom said faintly. With IKEA furniture. I rent 12 apartments. In 12 different cities. Wherever I do business. The IKEA furniture is in my Singapore apartment because I'm only there 2 weeks per year. Seemed wasteful to buy expensive furniture I'd rarely use. The New York apartment has custom pieces. The London flat is furnished with antiques. Different spaces, different purposes. Bradley had his phone out, typing frantically. Trans-Global Aviation Services. Is that your company? I nodded. Says here, oh my God. Says here you're the founder and CEO. The company is valued at $4.2 billion. You're listed as. He looked up, face ashen. Forbes estimates your net worth at $2.1 billion. Tyler grabbed the phone, read the screen and dropped it. Billion, Dad whispered. With AB. Technically it fluctuates. Market conditions, asset valuations, currency exchange rates. But yes, approximately $2.1 billion. Though Forbes is slightly conservative. My accountants estimate closer to $2.4 billion. The grandfather clock chimed. 7:45 p.m. 12 minutes, I said pleasantly. You might want to put on coats. It'll be loud when they land. Nobody moved. My phone rang again. I answered. Status. 10 minutes out, ma'am. We have clearance from air traffic control. Local police have been notified of the flight plan. Should we proceed? Proceed, Captain. Formation landing. Let's make it dramatic. Always do, ma'am. I ended the call and looked at my family. They were statues frozen in shock. So about that gas money, I said to Tyler. How much did you want me to contribute? He made a sound like a strangled cat. Because I'm happy to cover it. I can wire you $10,000 right now. Would that cover your gas expenses for the next year? Stop, he whispered. Or I could buy you a new truck. Fully loaded. Custom everything. Would that make us even? Please stop. I'm just trying to contribute. You said I never contribute. I'm contributing. Melissa had tears running down her face. Why didn't you tell us? I tried. 9 years ago when I started the company. You laughed. Said I was wasting my life. Said I should get a real job. I looked at Dad. You told me I was being ridiculous. That aviation was too expensive, too complicated, too competitive. I was trying to protect you, he said weakly. You were dismissing me. There's a difference. I turned to Tyler. And you've spent 9 years mocking me. Every family gathering, every holiday, every phone call. When are you getting a real job? When are you buying a car? Stop living in fantasy land. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. When I tried to tell you about my first major contract, you changed the subject to your landscaping business. When I mentioned buying property, you assumed I meant a rental. When I talked about aircraft acquisitions, you thought I was joking. Mom sat down hard. The credit card debt. Last year. That was you. $47,000. You were 3 months from bankruptcy. But the credit card company said, I bought your debt and forgave it. Seemed simpler than explaining I could afford to pay it. Dad's hands were shaking. The mortgage restructuring. 2 years ago. Also me. You were facing foreclosure. I purchased the note, restructured the terms, lowered your payment by 40%. Oh my God, Mom breathed. And Tyler's business, I continued, looking at my brother. That $400,000 investment from Venture Growth Partners? That was my money. My firm. I've been funding your expansion for 3 years. Tyler's face crumpled. No. The Morrison Corporate Park contract? Morrison Enterprises is my subsidiary. I approved your company specifically because I knew you'd do good work. You've been supporting you while you mocked me? Yes. The sound of jet engines became audible in the distance. 5 minutes, I said, checking my phone. Bradley was still scrolling, still reading, still processing. Your helicopter division provides all medical transport for 6 Western states. Your airline subsidiary operates in 14 countries. You have government contracts on 4 continents. You employ over 3,000 people. 3,247 as of last Friday. We hired 12 new pilots and 33 maintenance crew. The jet noise grew louder. You should probably step outside, I suggested. It's going to be quite a show. We filed out to the back patio like zombies. The yard was exactly as I remembered. Expansive, well-maintained, perfect sight lines. I'd chosen this property specifically for its clearances when I'd anonymously purchased it for my parents 5 years ago. They'd thought they'd gotten lucky with an inheritance from a distant relative. The distant relative was me. The jets appeared in formation over the tree line. 3 sleek aircraft, lights blazing, descending in perfect synchronization. The Gulfstream G650 led, with the Global 7500 and Falcon 8X flanking. They were magnificent against the winter sky. Tyler fell to his knees. The jets touched down in sequence, their precision absolutely perfect. The yard was large enough that they had plenty of room, though the trees definitely felt the downdraft. The noise was spectacular. A thunderous roar that rattled windows and set off car alarms down the street. Neighbors were coming outside, phones up, filming. The jets powered down to idle. Cabin doors opened. Flight crews emerged in crisp uniforms. Captain Morrison descended first, approaching with a salute. Ma'am. Fleet delivered as requested. All systems nominal. Beautiful property for a landing. Thank you, Captain. Excellent approach. We aim to please. He handed me a tablet. Flight logs for your review. Also, operations wants confirmation on the Singapore departure tomorrow. Confirmed. 0900 local time. I'll be bringing family gifts, so we'll need extra cargo space. Already arranged, ma'am. The Global 7500 has been outfitted for maximum cargo capacity. Perfect. I turned to my family. They were staring at the jets, at the crews, at me. So, I said pleasantly, who wants a tour? Nobody spoke. The Gulfstream is my usual aircraft for transcontinental flights. 16 passenger capacity, full bedroom, shower, conference space. The Global is for international. Longer range, more luxurious. The Falcon is my working plane. Mobile office setup, satellite communications, everything I need to run operations from 45,000 feet. This is real, Melissa whispered. This is actually real. Did you think I was lying about the aircraft landing in your backyard? Yes. Obviously yes. I smiled. Would you like to see inside? Captain Morrison was already lowering the stairs on the Gulfstream. I gestured for my family to follow. They climbed aboard like people in a trance. The interior was exactly as luxurious as it should be for a $65 million aircraft. Cream leather, burled wood, state-of-the-art entertainment systems, and enough technology to run a small country. Mom touched the leather seats reverently. This is my office, I finished. Though it's also my conference room, my bedroom on long flights, and occasionally my dining room. The galley has a full kitchen. The crew can prepare anything. How much? Dad couldn't finish the question. This particular aircraft cost $65 million. Annual operating costs are approximately $4.3 million. I use it about 300 hours per year, so roughly $14,000 per flight hour when you amortize everything. Tyler was crying now, silently, sitting in one of the leather chairs. I'm sorry, he said finally. I'm so sorry. For what specifically? For everything. For mocking you. For dismissing you. For the gas money comments. For assuming you were a failure. For 9 years of being a complete ass. You were protecting yourself, I said. You'd built this identity around being the successful one. The self-made man. Admitting your sister was more successful would have shattered that identity. That doesn't make it okay. No, it doesn't. Melissa was exploring the bedroom. There's a king-size bed. A shower. A closet full of designer clothes. I keep outfits on every aircraft. Never know where I'll land or what meeting I'll need to take. This is more luxurious than my apartment. Your apartment is lovely, Melissa. Different purposes. He turned to me, mascara smeared. I've been such a bitch to you. Yes, you have. I thought I was being helpful. Encouraging you to be more conventional. You were being judgmental. There's a difference. Captain Morrison appeared in the doorway. Ma'am, operations needs a decision on the Amazon acquisition. The call is scheduled for morning, but they want preliminary approval tonight. The aviation division? Yes, ma'am. 47 aircraft, solid infrastructure. Asking price is $3.2 billion. Counter at $2.8 billion. Tell them we'll go to $3 billion maximum, but only if they throw in the maintenance facilities. Done. He disappeared. Dad was staring. You're buying Amazon's aviation division? Considering it. Makes sense strategically. Good aircraft, established routes, trained crews. We can integrate it into our existing operations and expand our e-commerce logistics capabilities. For $3 billion. Approximately. Though I'll try to negotiate down. Bradley had been silent until now. I thought I was successful. I thought my career was impressive. You are successful. You help people. You repair injuries. That's meaningful work. But you. I coordinate logistics. Different skill set. Not better, just different. You're a billionaire. And you're a surgeon. We both provide valuable services. He shook his head slowly. I feel very small right now. Mom was crying ugly sobs that shook her whole body. You paid off our debt. You saved our house. You funded Tyler's business. And we treated you like you were the failure. You treated me the way you thought I deserved based on your perception of success. You couldn't see past the car thing. Because normal people have cars. Normal people also don't own 53 jets. I'm not normal, Mom. I never was. I just hid it better than you realized. We filed off the aircraft. The neighbors had formed a small crowd on the street, phones out, clearly trying to figure out what was happening. Captain Morrison approached again. Ma'am, local news is reporting 3 private jets landed in a residential area. They're sending a helicopter to investigate. Tell them no comment. This is a private family matter. They're asking about the owner of the aircraft. Still no comment. Let them speculate. He smiled. They're going to find out eventually. Probably. But not tonight. I turn back to my family. I need to leave soon. Singapore meeting in the morning. Tonight. Mom asked. It's Christmas Eve. Business doesn't stop for holidays. The meeting is with the Singapore government about expanding our medical transport services throughout Southeast Asia. Potential $500 million contract. Can't miss it. Will you? Dad cleared his throat. Will you come back? For Christmas. I considered the question. Do you want me to come back? Show me. The me who owns a $4.2 billion company and flies on private jets and made $313 million last year? Or do you want the version you'd created in your heads, the struggling transportation coordinator who can't afford gas money. Silence. As I can't be that version anymore. I can't sit through another dinner where you mock my choices. I can't watch Tyler preen about being self-made while using money I gave him. I can't listen to Melissa pity my IKEA furniture while I own properties in 12 cities. We want the real you, Tyler said quietly. I want my sister back. The actual person, not the fantasy I created. Can you handle the actual person? I don't know. But I want to try. I looked at each of them. Mom, Dad, Melissa, Bradley. All looking shell-shocked and slightly traumatized. I'll come back, I decided. For Christmas dinner. But we're having it on the Global 7500. On the plane. Mom asked. I'm having it catered by a Michelin 3-star restaurant. Full Christmas dinner, proper china, excellent wine. We'll fly to New York, have dinner at 35,000 feet and be back by midnight. Call it a family bonding experience. We'd fly on your plane, Melissa said slowly. For Christmas dinner. All of you. Partners invited. I looked at Bradley. Ever had Christmas dinner in a private jet? I've never been in a private jet, period. First time for everything. I turned to Captain Morrison. Prep the Global for 6 passengers. Christmas dinner service. Route to JFK and back. Departure at 5 p.m. Christmas Day. Done, ma'am. Should I arrange the catering? Lou Bernardine. Tell them money is no object. I want it perfect. Always do, ma'am. The jets began powering up for departure. The noise was intense. I need to go, I said over the sound. Singapore calls. But I'll see you all tomorrow. 5 p.m. Dress nicely. It's still Christmas dinner, just at altitude. What should we bring? Mom asked. Nothing. Just yourselves. The real versions, not the ones you think I want to see. I climbed aboard the Gulfstream. The crew was already preparing for departure, running through pre-flight checks with practiced efficiency. Through the window I watched my family standing in the yard, their yard that I owned, watching 3 jets taxi for takeoff. Tyler was crying again. Melissa was holding Mom. Dad was staring at the Gulfstream like it was a UFO. Bradley was taking notes on his phone. Probably processing the fact that his girlfriend's little sister was worth more than everyone he'd ever met combined. The jets lifted off in sequence. The Falcon first, then the Global, then my Gulfstream. We climbed into the winter sky, leaving the neighborhood behind. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'm grateful for the chance to try. Also, thank you for the investment. I'll pay you back. I texted back. It was a gift, not a loan. Merry Christmas. Another text from Melissa. I've been awful to you. I'm sorry. See you tomorrow. I promise to be better. And finally from Dad. Proud of you. Should have said it years ago. See you Christmas. I didn't respond to those. Words were easy. Tomorrow's dinner would show if they meant it. Captain Morrison appeared from the cockpit. Ma'am, we're climbing through 20,000 feet. ETA to Singapore is 14 hours. You should get some rest. I will. Thank you, Captain. By the way, that was the most dramatic landing I've ever conducted. 3 jets in a residential backyard for a family Christmas dinner. That's a new one. I smiled. Had to make a point. Point made, I'd say. Your brother looked like he'd seen God. More like he'd seen the consequences of 9 years of dismissiveness. That too. He returned to the cockpit. I settled into the leather seat, watching the landscape shrink below us. Somewhere down there, my family was processing the reality that the daughter they'd dismissed had built an empire while they weren't paying attention. Tomorrow would be interesting. Christmas dinner at 35,000 feet with people who'd spent 9 years telling me I couldn't afford gas money. I pulled out my tablet and reviewed the Singapore contract details. $500 million over 5 years with options to expand. It would require 14 new helicopters and 3 new administrative centers. Worth the Christmas Eve meeting. My phone rang. Operations. I answered. Go ahead. Amazon accepted your counteroffer. $2.8 billion for the aviation division, including maintenance facilities. They want to close by March. Approved. Start due diligence immediately. Done. Also, the Singapore government pushed the meeting back 3 hours. You'll have time to rest. Perfect. I ended the call and looked out the window. Stars above, clouds below, Singapore ahead. And tomorrow, Christmas dinner with family who'd finally seen the truth. Not bad for someone who couldn't afford gas money.